Alrighty guys, welcome to our college basketball video here today for Tuesday, January 31st, 2023. My name is Brock Page. I've been doing sports picks for free on YouTube since 2016. And if you want to see which one of these free plays on this video that I'm actually betting on personally, you may want to think about signing up for my full access, all-inclusive board member package on my website. Board members get access to every single personal play, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. The math actually works out to be just $1.66 a day if you sign up here today. And of course, as an added bonus here, guys, you're also going to get access to today's full NBA pick show video as a board member as well. And I'll tell you what, $1.66, it's certainly cheaper than your daily cup of joe or your energy drink. You're not even going to miss $1.66, that's for sure. Most other handicappers, they actually charge a couple $100 just for a day or two of service. So certainly good value for that board member package. If you're serious about sports betting, I strongly suggest you at least consider it. And that, guys, hey, we got some free content here today. Big slate as well. We're going to start off with Mississippi State taking on South Carolina, 6:30 p.m. East. Mississippi State's -9, totals 128. Now, the Bulldogs are one of the best defensive teams in the game. They're allowing only 59 points per contest. They're limiting their competition to just 39% shooting from the field. Deshaun Davis, he has 28 steals on the season. And he also drills 42% of his three-pointers offensively. When it comes to scoring, Tolu Smith, he's scoring a team-high 14 points a game. Now they're facing an ice-cold South Carolina team who lost 7 out of their last 8, and they can't score for shit. These guys are averaging only 64 points a game. They're making just 39% of their field goals. Now, total-wise, South Carolina went 70% to the under in their home games this year. Meanwhile, Mississippi State, they are 8-2 to the under in all of their contests away from home. I'm going to lean toward Mississippi State -9, under 128. Next contest, it is going to be Texas A&M taking on Arkansas, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Arkansas is -3.5, totals 138. I'm not sure Arkansas is playing good enough basketball to get the job done here. The Razorbacks lost 6 out of their last 9, and they've been little threat shooting the three ball. They're actually facing an A&M team who won 9 out of their last 10 themselves, and they're actually one of the best defensive teams in the country. The Aggies are currently limiting their opponents to just 39% shooting from the field. They also find themselves in the top 10 in the nation in road defensive rebounds. Now, Wade Taylor, he has a team-high 37 steals on the year. He's also the team's leading scorer with nearly 15 points a game. Meanwhile, teammate Tyrese Radford, he's scoring over 13.5 points a game himself. When it comes to the injury report, Manny Obaseki's still out. Solomon Washington's questionable. Meanwhile, for Arkansas, Nick Smith Jr., he is still out with that knee. Now, total-wise, Arkansas has gone 10-1 to the under in their last 11 home games. Meanwhile, the Aggies on the other side, they saw 5 out of their last 8 stay under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Texas A&M +3.5, under 138. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Wake Forest taking on Duke, and that'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Duke's the 8-point favorite, totals 146. Now, Duke's played some incredibly tough defense. They're allowing just 58 points a game at Cameron Indoor. They're also one of the best rebounding teams in college basketball, especially at home. Kyle Filipowski, he has 26 steals and 16 blocks on the season. He's also the team's leading scorer with over 15.5 points a game. Meanwhile, Mark Mitchell's drilling nearly 41% of his three-pointers. Now, as a team, guys, the Blue Devils, they're perfect 10-0 straight up in their own arena. They're taking on a Wake Forest team who lost their last 3 straight. And they also play some pretty bad defense on the road. These guys are allowing over 76 points per contest while traveling. And of course, in addition to that, they're also letting their opponents make nearly 40% of their three-pointers against them on the road as well. Now, total-wise, Wake Forest saw their last 10 straight all get over the number. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Duke is 60% to the over at Cameron Indoor. I'm going to lean toward Duke -8 over 146. Next contest I have for you, it is going to be Clemson at Boston College, and that'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Now, Clemson's the 4-point favorite away from home, totals 136. Now, the Tigers got the W in 9 out of their last 10. They're also doing a nice job on defense. They're allowing only 66 points a game. They're also limiting their competition to just 39% shooting from the field. Now, Hunter Tyson, he has a team-high 21 steals on this season. He's also leading the team with 16 points a game, along with 41% shooting from three-land. Meanwhile, Chase Hunter, he's scoring over 14.5 points a game himself, along with 40% shooting from three-land as well. Now, they're facing a Boston College team on the other side who actually lost 6 out of their last 9. And in addition to that, they have all kinds of problems offensively. These guys are scoring just 65 points a game in their own building. And even worse than that, they're shooting just 26% from three-land in their own arena as well. Now, injury-wise, DeMar Langford, he is currently questionable for Boston College. Meanwhile, for Clemson on the other side, Alex Hemingway, he is questionable for them. Now, total-wise, Clemson saw 5 out of their last 9 stay under the line. Meanwhile, Boston College saw unders against the likes of North Carolina and Duke. I'm going to lean toward Clemson -4 under 136. Next contest, it is going to be Virginia Tech taking on Miami, and that'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Miami Hurricanes are -3.5 at home, totals 143 and a hook. Now, the Canes have been unbeatable in the Watsco Center. They're perfect 11-0 at home, and they're scoring 80 points a game in that building. When it comes to shooting from the stripe, this is a top 25 free throw shooting team. Isaiah Wong, he's knocking down 83% of his foul shots. He's also the team's leading scorer with 16 points a game. Meanwhile, Norchad Omier, he's 12th in the country in rebounds with 10.4 a night. Now, they're facing a Virginia Tech team who hasn't rebounded great defensively on the road. In these guys' last 9 ball games, the Hokies got the dub just 2 times. When it comes to the injury report, Darius Maddox is questionable. Rodney Rice is still out. When it comes to the total, Virginia Tech saw 4 out of their last 5 road games get over the number. Meanwhile, Miami went 4-2 to the over in their last 6. I'm going to lean toward Miami, -3.5 over 143 and a hook. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be VCU taking on Davidson, and that'll be a 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Virginia Commonwealth is -2.5 away from home, totals 136. Now, the Rams got the W in 8 out of their last 10. And they're one of the better defensive teams in the country. They're allowing just 63 points a game, and they're doing a nice job of defensive rebounding on the road. Jalen Deloche, he averages 7 rebounds a night and just about double-digit points. When it comes to scoring, Brandon Johns and Adrian Baldwin, they're averaging 12 points a game respectively. Now, they're facing a Davidson team who lost 5 out of their last 6, and they also have a tough time grabbing defensive rebounds. They also have one of the highest home defensive field goal percentages in the A10. And when it comes to the total, Davidson saw their last 5 straight all stay under the number. Meanwhile, Virginia Commonwealth went 4-1 to the under in their last 5 themselves. I'm going to lean toward VCU -2.5 under 136. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Kansas State taking on Kansas, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Kansas is -6.5, totals 146, and for some reason, it is not on our big screen. But anyway, the Jayhawks, they may have a tough time covering here. They already failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10. And when they play at the Allen Fieldhouse, they're covering in just 27% of those games. And as good as the Jayhawks have been, they have had some issues grabbing defensive boards. They're facing a K-State team who covered in 8 out of their last 9 themselves. They're also amongst the best road scoring teams in the country. They're currently in the top 10 in road points per contest, and they're making an NCAA best 84% of their free throws on the road. Marquise Noel, he's draining 87% of his foul shots. Of course, Noel, he's second on the team right now in points per game. And speaking of points, Keontae Johnson, he averages a team-high 18 points a game. Now, injury-wise, the Wildcats are relatively healthy at the moment. No significant inactives to report to you, at least as of right now. Meanwhile, for Kansas on the other side, Cam Martin and Kyle Cuff, they're both questionable. Number-wise, Kansas saw overs against Kentucky, Oklahoma, and this very K-State team. Meanwhile, the Wildcats saw 5 out of their last 6 on the road get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Kansas State plus 6.5 over 146. Next contest, it is going to be Vandy, Bama, 8:30 p.m. East. Alabama's minus 14, totals 154. Now, the Tide's undefeated at home this year. They're grabbing more offensive boards than any other team in the nation. Brandon Miller's grabbing 8 rebounds a night. He's also leading the team with 19 points a game and 44% shooting from three-land. We all know Clowney, he's grabbing 8.5 rebounds himself, along with double-digit points. Now, they're facing a Vandy team who lost 5 out of their last 7, and they give up a ton of points on the road. Matter of fact, these guys are allowing just about 80 points a game away from their home court. When it comes to the injury report, Robbins and Dort are still out for the Commodores. Now, total-wise, Vandy went 5-1 of the over on the road this year. Meanwhile, for Bama on the other side, they saw overs against the likes of Oklahoma, LSU, and Arkansas. I'm going to lean toward Alabama minus 14 over 154. Next matchup, it is going to be Kentucky taking on Ole Miss, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Kentucky's minus 7, totals 135. And even though I'm really not a big fan of this number here, you know, you got a conference game on the road, laying multiple baskets. But I do think the Wildcats do have a good shot at covering here. They're already one of the better three-point shooting teams in the nation. They've also been dominating the boards. They're a top 25 defensive rebounding team. And, of course, they're also in the top 15 in offensive boards per contest on the road as well. And make no mistake about it, most of that is because of Oscar Tshiebwe. He's grabbing an NCAA best 13.7 rebounds a game. This guy's 6'9". We're not talking about a giant. It's not like he's, 7'4", like Zach Edey. It's just, this guy's just good. He's got good technique. He can get to the ball. He knows where it's going to land. He tips it up. He's kind of a lot like Dennis Rodman. But anyway, Tshiebwe, he's the team's leading scorer with nearly 17 points a night. Meanwhile, Kason Wallace, he's drilling 40% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging double-digit points a game. Now, they're facing an Ole Miss team who lost 9 out of their last 10, and they struggle getting on the scoreboard. These guys are averaging 67 points a game. They're making just 30% of their three-pointers. Now, injury-wise, Morrell and Ruffin are still questionable for Ole Miss. Meanwhile, for Kentucky, Damian Collins is day-to-day with a foot. When it comes to the total, UK saw unders against the likes of Vandy, Tennessee, and Alabama. Meanwhile, Ole Miss went 60% to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Kentucky minus 7, under 135. Next matchup, it is going to be Indiana taking on Maryland, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Maryland's minus 2.5, totals 139 and a hook. Now, the Terps have been really good at home. They're actually 11-1 straight up in the Xfinity Center, and they've done an excellent job on the defensive end of the court. They're allowing just 61 points a game at home this year, and they're limiting their competition to just 39% shooting from the field there. Jahmir Young, he has 26 steals on the season, along with a dozen blocks. He's also the team's leading points getter with 16 points a night. Meanwhile, Dante Scott, he's averaging just about a dozen points a game himself. Now, they're facing an Indy team who failed to cover in 6 out of their last 7 road games. They're also allowing just way too many points away from home as well. They're giving up 75 points a game while traveling, and they're letting their opponents make nearly 40% of their three-pointers against them in that same category. Now, injury-wise, Jordan Geronimo and Logan Duncombe, they are both questionable. Xavier Johnson's also still out. When it comes to the total in this one, the Hoosiers saw unders against the likes of Minnesota, Illinois, and Wisconsin. Meanwhile, Maryland went 7-3 to the under in their last 10. I'm going to lean toward Maryland minus 2.5, under 139 on a hook. All right, next matchup. It is going to be UNLV taking on Colorado State, 9 o'clock Eastern start time. Colorado State's -3, totals 144. And even though the Rams are favored in this one, they've really played some bad basketball recently. They're just 2-8 straight up in their last 10, and they're having a tough time getting on the scoreboard. Colorado State actually scores just 69 points a game in their own building. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Colorado State's arguably the worst offensive rebounding team in the nation. They're facing a UNLV squad who loves to turn on the gas on the road. These guys are in the top 20 in three-point shooting away from home. They're also averaging 77 points a game away from Vegas. E.J. Harkless, he's averaging 17 points a game along with 5 rebounds. Meanwhile, Justin Webster, he's drilling over 50% of his three-pointers. Scoring-wise, the Rebels are 70% to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, Colorado State saw 70% of their home games this year get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward UNLV +3 over 144. Next matchup, it is going to be Boise State taking on Air Force, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Now, Boise's -8.5, totals 131. Now, the Boise State Broncos play arguably the toughest defense in the Mountain West. They're allowing just 61 points a game, and they're actually limiting their opponents to only 28% shooting from three-land. Marcus Shaver, he has 31 steals on the season. He also averages 13 points a game. Meanwhile, Max Rice, he's knocking down 42% of his three-pointers. He's also scoring 13 points a game as well. Now, out of Boise's last 7 ball games, they covered the point spread 6 times. They're playing an Air Force team who scores just 68 points per contest themselves, and they're arguably the worst offensive rebounding team in the game. And out of Air Force's last 10 meetings with Boise, they got the W only twice. Now, injury-wise, Carter Murphy and Corbin Green, they are questionable for the Falcons. When it comes to the total, Air Force saw unders against the likes of San Diego State and Fresno. He also averages 62 points a game in their last 10 meetings with Boise. So if you're into historical trends, certainly want to think about that. Matter of fact, 6 out of Boise's last 10 meetings with Air Force stayed under the total. So once again, if you're into historical trends, plenty of unders to go around. I'm going to lean toward Boise -8.5, under 131. Next contest, it is going to be Northwestern taking on Iowa. That'll be a 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Iowa's -6.5, totals 149 and a hook. Now, I don't think I was playing good enough defense to cover this number here. These guys allow 73 points a game in the Carver Hawkeye Arena, and they have one of the highest defensive field goal percentages at home in the country. Now, they're facing a Northwestern team who, believe it or not, they're a top 25 scoring team on the road. Chase Audige, he scores over 15.5 points per contest. He also shoots 87% from the stripe. Meanwhile, Boo Buie, he's knocking down just about 90% of his free throws. He's second on the team in scoring with 15 points a game himself. Now, when it comes to defensive play, the Wildcats allow just 61 points a game. They're actually in the top 20 in the country in defensive field goal percentage. When it comes to the injury report, Julian Roper, he is questionable for Northwestern. Meanwhile, for Iowa, Josh Ogundele, he is out. When it comes to total, Iowa went 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Northwestern saw 4 out of their last 5 road games get over the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Northwestern +6.5, over 149 and a hook. Next game, it is going to be West Virginia taking on TCU. That'll be a 9 o'clock Eastern start time. TCU's the 3.5-point favorite, totals 145. And even though this is a pretty short number, you got to take into account that TCU covered in 7 out of their last 10. They also played quite well in their own building. They're 10-2 at the Schollmeyer, and they're scoring 78 points a game there. Mike Miles leads the team in scoring with over 18 points a game. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Miller, he's scoring 13.5 points per contest himself. They're facing a West Virginia team who allows nearly 72 points a night on the road. And in their last 9 outings, the Mountaineers got the W only 3 times. Now, injury-wise, West Virginia is relatively healthy at the moment. No significant scratches to report to you. Meanwhile, for TCU, Walker, Lampkin, and Miles are questionable for them. Now, when it comes to the total, 3 out of TCU's last 4 did stay under the number. Meanwhile, 5 out of West Virginia's last 8 stayed under the total themselves. I'm going to lean toward TCU minus 3.5, under 145. And with that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the video. It is going to be San Diego State taking on Nevada, 11 o'clock Eastern tip-off. San Diego State's minus 3, totals 138. Now, the Aztecs won 9 out of their last 10, and they haven't taken a loss on the road yet this year. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, San Diego State's a top 15 defensive rebounding team on the road. Matt Bradley grabs nearly 5 rebounds a night, and he also leads the team in scoring. Meanwhile, Darian Trammell, he averages nearly a dozen points a game himself. And in these teams' last 10 head-to-head meetings, the Aztecs got the W just 9 times. Now, they're facing a Nevada team who has a tough time grabbing offensive boards themselves. They also lost 3 out of their last 5, and they got held to 65 points or less in all of those losses. Now, injury-wise, Hunter McIntosh and Michael Falarin, they're both still out for the Wolfpack. And when it comes to the total, Nevada saw 7 out of their last 9 at home get over the line. Meanwhile, 5 out of San Diego State's last 8 got over the total themselves. I'm going to lean towards San Diego State minus 3 over 138. With that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. I like Mississippi State minus 9 under 128. VCU minus 2.5 under 136. Fordham plus 5 over 146. Western Michigan minus 3 over 146.5. Ohio minus 7 over 155. Arkansas minus 3 under 138. Texas A&M plus 3.5 under 138. Kent State minus 18 over 136. Toledo minus 9 over 160. Ball State minus 1 over 151. Akron minus 2 over 146. Illinois minus 14 under 137. Duke minus 8 over 146. Clemson minus 4 under 136. Quinnipiac minus 10 under 137. Miami Hurricanes minus 3.5 over 143 and a hook. Kansas State plus 6.5 over 146. Alabama minus 14 over 154. Kentucky minus 7 under 135. Dayton minus 14 under 129.5. UNLV plus 3 over 144. Maryland minus 2.5 under 139 and a hook. Northwestern plus 6.5 over 149.5. TCU minus 3.5 under 145. Wyoming minus 3 under 128. With my next and final free pick, I'm going to lean towards San Diego State minus 3 over 138. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on my website. If you guys do end up getting a package here today on patreon.com/BrockPage, just keep in mind you're going to get access to that content for the next 30 days. And of course, as an added bonus, guys, you're also going to get access to all of my cheaper memberships absolutely free. They're going to be included with your purchase. That's why I always tell folks to get that board member package. It gives you access to every single bet, every single package, every single day for the next 30 days. You also get access to some exclusive video content as well. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. With that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.